Look at that beautiful scene. Ain't it great?
Beautiful.
Hella lit. Alright guys, welcome to Dungeon Discourse, the, I guess, yeah, weekly Dungeon Select behind the scenes, talk show? There you go, the talk show, I guess, a little bit. Where, me, the DM of Dungeon Select, and two, sometimes less, sometimes more, guests, are going to go in depth on the previous episode that aired. So in this case, it's going to be episode 14, which I titled Saruphis, by the way.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't know
And
that.
we're gonna go in depth on. I have two of my players here, so we're gonna go in depth on their characters. Aktanis being kind of the middle point of this entire chapter, and Tramaris, who's Tramaris is going through some stuff, you know, like not that much in the forefront, but he's definitely going through some shit. We're gonna talk a little bit like in depth about like what made them choose to make the characters that they made, what could have gone differently in the previous episode, what paths had I prepared just in case, maybe a little sneak peek of what's to come this Sunday, you know, and all that. And if chat has questions, you can ask him. This is like the moment. So yeah, first of all, what were your guys' opinions on last session?
I'm still mad.
How come?
I'm just so angry.
Why? Explain.
Like,
you snapped a pencil out of sheer tension.
I did. I snapped my pencil in half. It was really intense, and he wasn't even like, he didn't even die. I got close, but he didn't die.
You got close, yeah. You got close. True. You did. Hanzo.
I liked it. I was sad that nobody got my big reveal. Nobody seemed to notice it, which made me a sad panda.
Hey man, there's always next time.
And I was so conflicted when the guy was like flying away, and I knew he was weak to fire, but then there was also people in danger that I needed to save. I was so torn.
Understandable, man. Understandable. I fucked up. There we go. That there. Hey y'all, hang on. Don't mind me. It's all good. Just keep talking while I quickly edit my scene. Yeah, yeet. Hey, look at that. Boom.
Soko is saying he noticed.
Soko, no, yeah, but Soko already knew, like, behind the scenes though. First of all, I want to just go, since it's the first time we're doing this, and you're the first two guests, I want to just recap what happened last episode. So you guys got to the circus, connected with some old friends, in Aktanis' her case, connected with someone that she thought was someone she knew, but ended up being someone else that she also happened to know. The episode will be up on YouTube tomorrow evening, by the way, for those that have missed it. So if you guys missed it, this will also be up on YouTube. So wait till tomorrow, watch the session first, and then come back to watch this. You know, it's one of them ones. I had a fight with two interesting individuals, both of which got away, sadly. One was a very fine-dressed, leathery wings, red-skinned man. And one was Lord Irondeck, who has undergone some changes since last time you saw him. Yeah, okay, first of all, what are your thoughts, Belle? Because you're the one that created Irondeck as a character. You're the one that was like, you wrote Aktanis' your backstory, and you were like, this guy, Lord Irondeck, is going to be an asshole that I ran away from, so he could potentially come back. And I picked that up and I made that into a thing. But what I want to know is, when you found out he's something a little more supernatural / magical / not just a fat guy with a lot of money anymore, but actually he's gotten some powers somehow. What were your initial thoughts? Like, when did you realize, wait a second?
It totally fits with his character that I made, because like he always was pretty power hungry, mostly before through money, but I guess now through actual power, which is kind of weird. But like,
Hang on.
it definitely fit with like the character that I had made. even though you barely knew anything about him because I didn't give you many experts.
I mean, that's the thing though. Like I didn't want you guys to like fully create characters. I wanted just give me like a broad idea of what are they like. What is something that they would do. So the stuff that you gave me on Iron Deck was I gathered that he is a rich fuck that because he has so much money and power and influence, he's used to get what he wants, and now that he's gotten something like rejected, he's angry and he will go through whatever lengths to make sure that those who wronged him in his eyes are going to pay. And in this case, that's you. Yeah. Hanzo, what were your like initial like thoughts when you realized that this Iron Deck guy was more than just a dude?
I know. I like his character and stuff like that, just sort of like the spoilt brat. You know what I mean? Like when he doesn't get what he wants, sort of throws a paddy.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, and also it makes sense. Like because vampires sort of like immortal and stuff like that. It makes sense that someone who's sort of obsessed with power and getting their own way would want that. Like that'd be something they'd love. You know what I mean? Like that they'd yearn for.
Yeah, that's kind of the angle that I took. And next Sunday, you're definitely gonna get, if you explore properly enough, you'll be able to find a lot of like snippets and notes that will describe more the person that Iron Deck is, and that he has been since Aktanis, Saruphis left, and what led him to get this power and how he got it. I'm gonna like hide that and like sprinkle that around next session, that if you guys do some proper like it's like when you play Skyrim and you're like, oh, I'm in this tomb, I can either go straight for a mission objective, or I can explore every nook and cranny and see if I can find some cool stuff. Kind of like that, like if you take the time to like explore, you'll find out a lot of like backstory when it comes to Iron Deck. That's for sure. We're obviously gonna have Ecto back for another week to play Gwen, so that's exciting. Ecto Master's gonna guest for another week. I already knew that beforehand because I knew Ecto was like, I have 2 weeks off back to back, and I was like, okay, that's really cool. So I already knew that Gwen was gonna stick around for more than just one session, so that's exciting. Phoenix Sorcerer, you're Hanzo.
Yes.
How about you just take us through what made you create Tramaris and make him the way he is? What was like walk us through your like thought process when you were like, hey, I'm going to play D&D, what character do I play?
As an aside, I've realized that the grey hairs here in my beard are also here in this little bit and in my mustache.
Oh no.
The whole front region of my face is going grey.
He's aging!
It's driving me insane. I don't know what to do.
Dye your beard, bro.
Man.
Oh my god. But yeah, the way I sort of approach like character creation is I started by looking up like classes, and I try find just like a class that sounds interesting to me.
Okay.
And in this case, I came across like the idea of like the divine sorcerer, where it's almost like the traditional priest. They wear like robes and light armor and are focused on healing. You know what I mean? So where they're not like a cleric where they are a healer but they run around in melee combat with heavy armor on. They're more like a priest, like I say. And I like
it's kind of like a good mix between being a wizard and a cleric. It's kind of like they took aspects from both and kind of
and I thought that was cool, like playing the idea of just like a sort of priest person. So then like when this is the way I approach it. I find like a class that I think's cool. And then I make a character to fit that. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I want to play this class, so let's come up with a good idea for it. And that's sort of, Tramaris just came from that. It started with a class, and I just sort of built from there. What would be a good race for that? Like, how can I make this work? You know what I mean? Like, how can I come up with a backstory that works for it?
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's interesting. So you go for a class, and then you... I think most people do that. Think first, like, okay, what class do I want to play? I think that's what most people do. It's what I personally do, and that's also what I've heard a lot of the people around me say what they do. So yeah, that's dope.
And then like the direction I've taken him in was so in Tramaris' like backstory, he was part of like a tribe who lived really like sheltered off from the world. Like they used magic to hide their village from normal people, so they literally go undetected. So they're just a small tribe of like 10 or so people who are totally excluded, cut off from the outside world. So he just lived a really like sheltered upbringing, which is sort of like you know, why So Kind is used to that village sort of lifestyle where everyone knows each other, everyone's super friendly, everyone helps each other out, everyone contributes and stuff like that. But it also meant like when he got like close to the party and stuff like that, and one of them died, that's why it hit him so hard, because he'd never been through anything like that. He'd never experienced that, especially not in such like messed up circumstances.
It's
like
good,
one of the elders.
It's good that you bring that up, because that's something that I definitely wanted to bring up, is the fact that for people that have been watching the show like from beginning till now, definitely noticed a change in Tramaris as soon as he saw Ash just got brutally murdered in front of him. Tramaris has been having dreams, visited by some figure, and has been showcasing also a change in personality a little bit, where he's still all for the party, he still wants to protect, but he's a little more angry. I think that's
hashtag edgelord Tramaris.
Yeah, like, but I think that's the way you could put it. Like, he's just angry. He's not like, and he definitely has an inner struggle going on, where it's like, how do I make what happened to Ash never happen to any of my friends ever again? That's kind of the thought process. Because that's how I interpreted it.
That's basically it. That's why, like, when that sort of shadowy, figure approached him and said, "I can give you the power to protect people," it was like, yeah, whatever it takes to protect people. I'm down.
Yeah.
Like, it's been so long we've had like normal Tramaris, OG Tramaris. I've forgotten what it was like.
He talks to trees and birds and smiled and accidentally set things on fire. Yeah, it's not like you're doing like a full like fucking 180, but there's just like very slight changes. But then that what I know is that you've done some without revealing too much here, you've done some things these last couple of sessions that are physically impossible for a sorcerer to do. And the people that know, like out of character, know, oh, he's done this and this. But in character, like in game, none of the others know.
Also,
like
out of character, I don't know.
Good.
I've been pretty sneaky about it. Dutch has been less subtle than I am. I've been very, very sneaky.
Yeah. The thing is, like, as a DM, I still, like, when you did a thing, I still have to describe the thing that you do, the way that's happening, like, it's not, so that's, like, Gypsy gave me shit about it, like, oh, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm the DM.
But no, I felt it was, like, justified.
Yeah, I have to explain what is happening, so if Tramaris is doing a thing, I have to describe what he's doing, That's
you have to make it clear that it's magic and not the alchemy kit. Like, because
exactly.
it is the alchemy, like, it is magic, not the alchemy kit, so you have to make that distinction.
Yeah, and I'm excited to, like, for Tramaris to be like, alright, boys, and, like, proper reveal it, but I'm also excited to see where these, like, because your staff now has a rune, like, engraved in it magically. Like,
I'm not sure how I'm going to reveal it anymore. Last week was meant to be my big reveal, but people didn't get it, so now I'm not sure how to reveal it without just straight up saying. And I don't know how I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, that's up to you, man. That's up to you.
Sorry, man.
It's fine.
But yeah, like, I'm excited to just explore that. Like, even though we're doing Aktanis is like the main focus of this chapter. We have Kissaran's, backstory that shimmers through a little bit. We have you, that, like, you have that map that you're trying to piece together. You have now this inner struggle going on. We have, you know, Kissaran's whole, like, I'm looking for these two people, and now this fucking fortune teller told me this, and oh, what do I do?
It's actually something I'm really interested in, is how Tramaris like goes from here, because it's something I was talking with some of the other party members about. It's like the idea that he's going to this temple because he's like, or like trying to find this temple that's on the map because his god told him to go there.
Yeah, but now that he has this inner struggle.
In the vision, he had the dream. He turned his back on his god to approach this other power.
Yep.
So it's like, will he still even be interested in the temple? And if he is and gets there, will his god even want him there anymore? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
to be a lot of inner struggles when it comes to Tramaris. That's something that I can definitely. You're gonna have a lot more dreams, homie. Trust me. Belle.
Yes.
How did you like the process of creating Aktanis, writing her backstory? You've written a really in-depth backstory because of the whole November writing month meme thing, which is great because for me as a DM, I have a lot of shit to like pull from, and like and do. But just walk us through like how did you? Because this is your first time playing D&D, if I recall correctly.
It is. Never played it before.
Your D&D like cherry got popped on stream, which is ballsy, very ballsy, like which is
terrifying,
scary. But you're fucking killing it, and like the people watching, like the viewers, also like you're doing really well. So like that's something that I find very like, I don't know, like I'm a little proud, I guess, in a way. I don't know.
Aww.
But just walk us through, like you were like, oh, I'm playing D&D, I'm doing this on stream. What character am I making? Just walk us through that.
Okay, so it wasn't the first time I'd made a character. I've made a character once before that I didn't end up using, really, to be honest. But I went through it in a completely different way than like anyone else I've ever talked to about it. So instead of going from like a class or like a fighting style I wanted to play, I went from a personality that I'd already constructed in my head, and then tried to build a class around her that fit her personality type, if that makes sense. So I always knew I wanted to play like kind of an orphan, but her parents were still alive and she was trying to like find them, essentially.
Okay.
But I also wanted her to be able to use like a big beefy axe. But I didn't know how I was going to transition that into how I was going to play it. So I looked through the book and eventually I was just like, okay, so she's going to be barbarian, she's going to be a tiefling. Because then that means she's had some kind of like racism that she's had to, you know, struggle through, which has made it even harder for her. And that was basically how I went through it.
How can I make my character the most dramatic person in the world?
Yeah.
No, I feel you. I saw a discussion the other day on Twitter between some of the Critical Role people and like part of the community that were like, wow, why does every D&D character ever always have this dramatic backstory? And I was like, I mean, that's because you as a DM then get to really explore that and get people attached to their character, and if something happens that's dramatic.
And it's also, I like the way Marisha Ray put it, which is because people who are content in their life don't go hunting dragons.
Yeah, it's so fucking true though. Yeah, like I was like, what do you mean? Like if you're just a happy shopkeep and have this like empire of shops, like fucking, if you were to play Theonel, right, the fucking shopkeeper with the Archon Emporiums, like you're set for life. You have a successful business chain.
Can I take a second to talk about my favorite character I've ever played, because I like bringing them up. So I once played a character who was a sorcerer who wore full plate mail and wielded 2 tower shields, one in each hand.
Jesus.
Right. And basically his backstory was that he used to work as someone's like personal tutor for like a noble family. Like they tutored their son, but when their son got older, like they just sort of kicked him to the curb and like, we don't need you anymore. And he was like, oh, what am I gonna do now? So he like was sort of forced into going out and becoming an adventurer. So he is like just not an adventurer at all. He's a total coward. He's like scared of everything. He just wants to like run away all the time and stuff. And that's why, even though he's a sorcerer, he wears like full plate mail and wields 2 tower shields, because he's so scared of taking any damage.
That kind of the first thing that pops to my mind is kind of like the, I don't know, for those who've seen Critical Role, Tyrion Darrington, who's like, oh, I'm an adventurer, but then turns out to be like this, not an adventurer at all. Like, oh, my dad kicked me out, and I gotta do this thing, and I gotta prove myself. I'm actually a little shit that's scared of everything, kind of thing. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, that's the fun thing about D&D is, like, people are like, oh, but what's, like, the typical D&D character? And it's like, there isn't really a typical D&D character because, A, it depends on the world you're playing in and your DM and what he's allowing and what he's not. And I recognize that a lot of, especially when it's your first time creating a character, you put a lot of yourself into your character, maybe a little too much even, in you know? But yeah. I feel like if the character does not have at least a little bit of your own personality or your own, like, yourself in there, you're gonna have a bad time playing them, because if you're going to have to, for like we do, 4 hours a week, just like get into this mindset of completely different person, that's hard. But if there's a little part of yourself in there, it's easier for you to like get into that mindset of like, okay, let's fucking go.
Yeah, I find it fairly easy now to get into Aktanis' head, because I spent a month writing from her perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically about everything that happened.
That also helps.
So, and like that's something that I needed to do in order to do it properly, because I grew up like creative writing. That was something that I did all the time, like at boarding school. That was like the only thing I wanted to do. So
yeah.
It was just an easier way for me to get into that.
You're fucking
kidding. It is one thing that always bugs me. Like, you haven't fallen into this trap, Belle, but like a lot of new players, when they play D&D, will just play themselves as a D&D character, and that drives me insane. Like whenever that happens.
No, me as a D&D character would not work well. I'm too broken to fight dragons.
Literally. Yeah. So going back to the making Aktanis, you definitely went for like a personality and more like a thing first, and then you were like, okay, how do I add to this? Oh, be a tiefling, because then racism is a thing, and yeah.
And also they look dope.
They do look pretty cool. Yeah. Cool. Dope. Yeah, and you're both killing it, by the way. Like, Belle, with especially now, because it's such an Aktanis-centered chapter, you're being put on the spot a lot.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm a new player, and immediately you're like, okay, you take
no better way to learn than to just throw you in the fucking pits, you know? But Hanzo, you have bare fucking D&D experience, predominantly as a DM. But now you're playing again, and I also like the way you play Tramaris. You do it really well. You show that like inner struggle very well. The first few episodes, Tramaris was like this quiet, you know, maybe a little shy, not sure how to open up to these people type of character. But then when the episode where like you guys break out of like Raisin's jail, right? The first episode where Tramaris is like really angry and upset, and it's like you did that so fucking well, where you just like you were so mad, and you played that really well. Like that was dope. I really enjoyed like just witnessing that.
I went from accidentally setting things on fire to intentionally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That was like one of the first things you did as well. You
yes,
like,
yes. We broke out of prison, saw a storeroom, and I set it on fire, like just straight away.
We hadn't even broken out yet. We'd just broken out of the cells. Yeah. Like we hadn't even escaped.
So yeah, what I as the writer of this episode, like focusing on especially last Sunday, wanted to achieve is I wanted to introduce the group to like Belle's like friends from back in the day, family. Kind of. Fun little fact is I had to cut like an entire part out and improv on the spot, because I noticed that at the 3-hour mark, we had 1 hour to go. Laura really had to go after that last hour. Like between the fight with the orcs and the Cambion, the red devil dude, and the fight with Iron Deck, there was supposed to be an entire day there for you guys to kind of talk about what happened, blah blah blah. Maybe talk to Shep some more. Shep. But I had to like cut that immediately, so that's why I decided that when luckily you killed all the orcs first in that fight, so it was easy to like isolate this Cambion and be like, okay, listen, because Cambions are fucking smart. What they're devils. They come from the hells, but they fucking thrive off of making deals, like, you know, contract, literally selling your soul to the devil type thing. So when like all the orcs that were like there to kind of protect him in a way, but also we're there like we're like his muscle there. We're all
and
killed.
Now they're dead.
the devil went down to Georgia, he was looking to make a deal.
The devil was like, all right, well, I kind of uphold my end of the deal. How can I wear myself out of this contract so that I can just leave? And that was by I improv that. There's something happening in the tent. Plane shift out of here. But that was supposed to be like an entire day between that altercation and the fight with Iron Deck. But because we were pressed for time, I had to cut that, unfortunately.
I mean, the whole episode, like,
you know.
last week was a night in game time.
Yeah, it was one night, and it was supposed to be like...
Which is, so, fun little thing. The reason I kept hinting at that healing potion was because...
It lasts 24 hours.
They only last 24 hours.
Yep.
So I was paying very, very close attention to how much time had passed. Because I didn't want you, like, going to grab the potion, and it just been an empty vial. And you've been like,
Oops. Yeah. So yeah, fun little fact. I have some things written down here that were like things that could have gone differently. I had 4 fights prepared for you in that pit when Shep was like, "Oh, get down here."
Oh yeah.
You had to draw the cards, right? I guess I can go over which ones you didn't encounter. So you drew the first card from the second from the right, I believe.
Yeah, I
Pretty sure.
chose the stone guy.
Yeah. You fought the rock elemental. Earth elemental, rather, sorry.
Big rock.
Earth, rock, brick, whatever.
Not the Dwayne kind either.
If you would have picked the leftmost card, you would have had to fight an animated suit of armor.
That's great.
Very big red armor, devilish horns on the helmet, with just a very big greatsword. Very high AC as well.
That would have been bad.
The second to the left would have been a Displacer Beast, which is a very big black cat-like creature, pointy ears, sharp fangs, and tentacle-like things attached to his neck. And what Displacer Beasts do is they have a perk called Avoidance. If it needs to make a saving throw to like divide the damage in half, if it makes it, it takes no damage instead. So it's either you take all damage or no damage, pretty much. And attacks always have disadvantage because of its displacement. And the way the displacement works is it's always a few feet away from where you see it to be. So like you see it there, but then in reality it would have been there. So that's why all your attacks would have had disadvantage on that creature, because you see him in a place where he's not. You fought the Earth Elemental. The rightmost card, you would have fought a Manticore.
You are mean.
So you definitely, when it comes to like, I think the hardest fight would have been, I don't know, the Manticore, because it could fly out of your range.
Manticores suck.
But yeah, I would have had a lot of fun with any of these. The Earth Elemental was cool though. It was dope.
I think I definitely chose the best option then.
Yeah, I mean the armor would have been the high AC, but other than that, it's just a suit of armor, you know, like just clang it a couple times and it'll do the thing. Yeah. As for something else, I also had some stuff prepared where, if that full day between like that and that I had planned would have continued, I would have had a scenario prepared just in case you were to go look for Bree. If you were to like, okay, Bree is not here, I'm looking for her.
Which is totally what I would have done.
Yeah, I had something prepared for that just in case. I had a scenario prepared for where if you were to see through the illusion that was Shep, but actually Iron Deck, if you were to stay around in Shep's office and just like kind of investigate it, / perception checked it properly, if you rolled high enough, you would have been able to hear some muffled noises of like a gagged person trying to like make enough sound to be heard, which then would have led to you finding the real Shep tied up in a box somewhere. You know, that meme.
Poor Shep.
Yeah, man.
He did not have a good day.
he had a fucking bad 2 days. He was in that box 2
Yeah.
days, man. I had one like future predicting session prepared for each of you, just in case everyone was like, "Oh yeah, me next, you." I had like a little prediction thing prepared for everybody. Even Gwen, yes, Ecto, even Gwen. 'Cause you never know. It's my job to be prepared for the unprepared. For the unpredictable, sorry. Be prepared for the unpredictable. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions? Hanzo, Belle, anything you want to know? Anything?
I kind of want to know what my fortune would have been, but I don't know if you can actually tell me that.
What your fortune would have been? Let me think. Where is it? I have it written down somewhere. If you were to have your fortune told, and, you know, fail the saving throw so that you could probably pry in your head and be like, okay, what can I see here? It would have been something in regards to your parents.
Thought so.
Yeah. Where they might be, that sort of stuff, kind of like as a little thing. Tramaris would have gotten a clue as to where to find the next piece of his map.
Need that.
She would have had a little bit of a clue where to find the next map piece, but she would definitely also sense the internal struggle you're encountering and give you a little bit of unsolicited advice on that as well. Because that's what she do. Yeah, I currently am working on some stuff for next session already that I'm really excited for. I have to fill in another city because you guys are going to Dregfield because that's where the estate is. So I have to make sure that. What about Naronk? Without spoiling too much, something regarding Naronk's lost community. Without, you know, spoiling too much.
Intrigue.
Intrigue. Yes. Chat, do you guys have any questions? Anyone that's watching that watches Dungeon Select is like, hey man, I want to know this and that. How did this go? Was that improv? Was that not? I've had to improv a lot over the course of these like
Pretty unpredictable.
fucking like that whole fucking my favorite improv moment was Nicole going for that book and that fucking gnome that I had, like an entire like gnome bookstore that I had to like fucking pull out of my ass. That came out of left field, man. I was like, I am prepared for so many things.
That character was awesome.
Was there a point where I was disappointed when our players didn't go for something planned? Yes and no, because so far our players have done everything that I wanted them to do.
Oh.
Sometimes they just take a detour.
Oh, okay.
I make sure that there's always something to make sure that they stay on that path to where I want them to go. Like this is the goal, this is them, this is what I write, and I make sure that even if they go like this, they eventually still at the end of the episode get to where I want them to be. I mean, one of the hardest things for me to improv was definitely Ash dying. Ash dying was rough. That was really rough. Because I was not prepared. I put in so many like ridiculous saving throws for you guys to like, you're bound to fucking fail one of them.
But nope.
And Ash was just like, nah, dude. I'm gonna pass them all.
So,
and I was so like, wow. Oh,
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
From DM perspective. How do you guide your players in the direction you want them to go without railroading them? How do you handle that dilemma?
I give them
because
that.
It is a real struggle for all.
It definitely is. And I kind of like feel like I'm doing a pretty okay job at that so far. If I'm allowed to like give myself a little compliment there.
You are not.
Okay. Calm down. What I try to do is I definitely give them the freedom to, like, for instance, you're in Kalzir, the capital of the Expanse. There's so much shit you could do there. And I give you guys that freedom, like fucking go, man. Like Nicole's bookshop thing. Oh, I guess you're going to a bookshop now. But if I feel like a day has gone by where you haven't gotten to the point where I thought or hoped you would have been, I tend to make an NPC that kind of drags you along a little bit. Rokul has fulfilled that role a couple of times where he's like, hey man, there's this thing happening. I need y'all's help. Please help, smile. To where the party would feel like some form of like commitment, I guess. But without obviously like dragging them along too much. Like, oh, like I'll just like throw a hint in there, and if they pick up on it, great. And if they don't, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna ask again, you know? It's hard. It's really hard. Like if you have any advice on that part, then go right ahead. It's really hard though to like make sure that that sense of freedom is still there, but you also kind of drag them along a little bit to where the plot, you know, keeps progressing. It's tough. It's tough.
Trying to get an enticing enough carrot on the stick.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Now that we're doing your backstory, it's a lot easier for me because that's something you really want to see happen and really want to explore. But especially the first like few episodes with the whole like chromosphere thing, I had to really think of like a way where I gotta make sure that these motherfuckers are motivated, because if they're like no one knows each other, easily one of them could have been like, all right, well, y'all's are dickheads, I'm out, peace, you know. And I'm not gonna say no. Like that's just okay, cool. Guess you're gone. It's hard. It's really hard. I guess if I were capable enough as a DM to give advice on that aspect, is just having a couple of NPCs that share some history with the party always helps to kind of motivate them. Like how Rokul, you met him before, he knows you guys are capable. So when that whole like Council of Roskilde like discovery thing happened, it was good because I had an NPC that you guys had met before that you kind of trust. That, you know, that could help you out in combat as well because you've seen him fight before. And then when you discovered Medjern's corpse, and Rokul just got really like, I want revenge type of thing. It's easy to get players to subconsciously do what you want if you motivate them enough with either something very sad or something very fun. So like the circus, as soon as the circus got mentioned, Laura was like, "Oh yeah, circus, let's go." You know, it's really easy. If that's like, yeah.
I'm waiting for the day when you inevitably pull out the Grand Wrestlam tournament as a motivator. It's like we don't want to do something, and you're like, "Oh, you also hear that there's a massive Wrestlam tournament going on." I
promise you that between like chapters, so after you finish up something like really significant, there's going to be a day where you guys can just rest and there will be a Wrestlam tournament. I promise you, guaranteed. That's going to happen. I no worries.
I can't believe how well I did, like beating Nicole and then like tying almost with like Belle with -1 strength. I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
that's wild. Yes. Something I'm also looking forward to a lot is you know, when the party gets to a certain okay, little scoop here. I have told you guys about the Sundering, right? The meteor strike that created the Burning Scar and that made the shift from the second to the third era, right? Yeah. I am working on a list of items called Artifacts of the Sundering, which are magical items, gear, weapons, whatever, created during, you know, the meteor hitting the plane, infusing it with otherworldly magic, creating these like items. And I'm very excited for the day that we're going to explore that and be like, hey, y'all are gonna go on a hunt for some really cool fucking magic weapons. That's long con, my bros. That's like, you guys are level 4. That's like long con. But it's something I'm already working on because I need to create and pull and homebrew these weapons out of my ass and this gear out of my ass that
Burning Scar next episode.
that is like powerful enough for you to wear. and to explore and find out that, hey, initially upon finding the item, it does this. But if you explore the item enough and wear it enough and something significant happens, it evolves and gives you even more power, blah, blah, blah.
Pikachu, I choose you.
Comparable to like the vestiges in Critical Role, if that says it, like kind of similar but different in a way. Yeah, like, but that's super long con. That's like level 10 plus long con that I've already started working on, just in case.
That sounds dope. I'm so excited.
So yeah, like Hanzo, you as a DM, like how do you deal with the whole, and because you're way more experienced than me, how would you deal with trying to avoid railroading but also trying to get your players to get to a certain point?
So I just don't. I just don't deal with that because basically my DM style is I am the laziest DM you will ever meet ever.
That's fair.
I don't do any prep at all. And basically I don't plan anything. I don't really write anything. But luckily for me, I'm very good at improvising. Very good. Like it's what I'm good at. So basically I just sort of don't, because I don't have a plan. If my players don't follow what I sort of like do, I go into each session with a vague idea, but I don't actually make proper plans or anything. So if my players end up not following my vague plan that I had, oh well, I'll just improvise something else.
That is a super helpful thing.
That's fair, yeah. Like, I'm definitely writing a story here. Right. So I definitely, on average... Oh,
yeah, but I've told Dutch in private messages that he's a much better DM than I ever was, so...
Hey, man, that's...
So, I'm not trying to toot my own horn and say, oh, I don't need to plan because I'm so good. No, I'm lazy. It's not a good thing. Prep is always better than no prep. I'm just bone idle in everything.
On average, I spend 5 to 6 hours preparing a session during the week to make sure that Dungeon Select is good. And even then, fucking 25% of the session is improv. So, I prepare none of the dialogue, right? The dialogue is something that I pull out of my ass, except when it's something significant, like the future predicting thing. Yeah, but past Sunday, so episode 14, was definitely most time ever spent on preparing an episode. Took me close to 10 hours to make sure that I had everything prepared, and because there were so many what ifs, there were so many possible scenarios, oh, what if they would have done this? What if this would have happened? What if this? That I wanted to be prepared for, because it was a pretty important episode. Some pretty big reveals, some pretty significant, even though you might not know it yet, pretty significant people got introduced. We have Gwen, who is Ecto's guest character, who definitely has potential to stick around for future episodes as well, comebacks and stuff. Who also has her own personal agenda and plot and
which is really
background.
Interesting.
And then there is this Cambion that just suddenly appeared and was oh, hello. Hey man, making deals, smile. Iron Deck, who turned out to be a vampire. A lot of significant reveals were done. I definitely gave Iron Deck a little bit of plot armor last episode to make sure that he didn't die, because I want you guys to really, he had a little bit of plot armor.
That makes it worse.
But yeah, I'm excited for you guys to... Next week's gonna, or this Sunday's gonna be fun, for sure, definitely.
I'm so excited.
I'm homebrewing an item that I already showed to Soko a little bit. That's gonna be something that might be useful for you guys. That I'm not going to share just yet, but it's... Yeah. You're going really old school Van Helsing style vampire hunting, and I'm excited. Because vampires don't tend to, roam alone. So... Yeah. Let's see.
Vampires was not the way I expected this to go.
Yeah, man. I'm also going to check check back into Index like stats and stuff, and I'm going to homebrew a little bit, making him different than the typical, 5th edition vampire. So that even for those that are familiar with vampires, like out of character, will still be in for some surprises. It's gonna be fun. Gonna be fun. I'm very excited for Sunday. Definitely gonna be fucking lit. And now that I have 2 weeks off college, I have fucking boats of time to start to like write and prepare. It's fucking sick.
Was there anything in particularly difficult about taking characters I'd already written and created and putting them in the campaign?
Yes. Everything. Because it's not a creation of my own mind, it's a creation that you made. So I need to make sure that those characters look the way you imagine them to look, that they act the way that you intend them to act, that they sound the way that they give you the impression that these are indeed the characters that you created and not a canvas that I improved or altered. I wanted it to be as close to what you gave me as possible, and that's stressful. Because when I create my, like Elevantir, my own creation, I can fucking do with him whatever the fuck I want. Theonel, my own creation, I can do whatever the fuck I want because I created her. If one day she's on her period and she starts snapping at you guys, or because I'm having a bad day and I let it shine to in my campaign, it's not supposed to happen, but it's my character, so fuck y'all. I can make her do and say whatever the fuck I want. When it's a character that you created, it's hard because I gotta make sure that it is the character that you created and I don't put too much of myself in that character.
I also find, from my experience, that if you don't create something, it's much harder to like remember it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't stick in your mind anywhere near as well if you didn't come up with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's why it always blows my mind when people can run the pre-made like modules and stuff, because like I've tried one of them before and I just like couldn't remember because I hadn't come up with any of it. I just like couldn't remember any of the details at all.
Understandable. Like I had Belle's like Google Drive doc open when I introduced the characters which she made a while ago. Because I asked her like, hey, we're gonna get into your backstory. I need some significant people from your past. Describe them to me. So like I had that page open at all times so that I could quickly like check like, okay, to make sure that I gave you guys like the right description of what they looked like and the right like the way they would act, the like especially Shep, because Shep has definitely been, and Alvin I guess, were like the two that I played most, because like Bree you only saw at the end, and Rank is kind of dead. Then also I was like, oh, I'm gonna kill someone that Belle wrote, and she's just gonna like be like, okay, well, guess we're gonna. That sucked, by the way. That really sucked. But yeah,
that was really fun for me though. I actually really enjoyed that. That was really fun. I enjoyed having to like role play off that. Completely unexpected.
But yeah, playing characters that you created yourself, easy, because they're my creation. So if they do a thing, that's because they can, because I say so. Because I'm the DM, that's why. But if it's a character that has been pre-made by one of you guys, I gotta make sure that what they do makes sense to you, and what they look like is what you gave me. It's tough. Are any of your optional branches based on character actions, or just stuff you thought up to cover most outcomes? What do you mean, Kamikaze? Exactly. I struggle with dissecting that sentence. Can't wait to see where your backstory takes us. Soko, you know damn fucking well where your backstory is going to take us, you dick.
I think it means like the way I interpret those sentences, like when you have to write like obviously like sometimes the story doesn't go as you planned, and it goes in another direction. I think he's meaning like, do you sort of pre-plan them to cover like eventualities or like possible things, or do you like improvise them based on the actions the players take? That's sort of how I interpret it. But if I'm wrong, Kamikaze.
A little bit of both. I write what I want to happen, what I hope to happen, because that's the way the plot goes. Then I'm like, okay, but because Siren also has stuff going on. What if she goes out of her way to do this first? Okay, gotta make sure that's written down. Like I prepare as much as I can. Optional stuff that's been inspired by. I mean, I write the sessions weekly, So, for instance, Tramaris and his change. If Ash wouldn't have died, Tramaris would have still been the happy-go-lucky, tree-hugging sorcerer, right? He wouldn't have had that motivation to get that inner struggle. So that's like a little bit of a benefit for writing these things every week and not just bulk writing. Like, I definitely write the session. I start writing a session after the preview session is done, so I know exactly where my characters are, where the plot's taken them, which makes it a little easier. So when there's optional stuff like, oh, Nakul now has a book and he could like look into stuff that has to do with that book, that involve his backstory. Now that I know that he's already shown interest in that in game, it's really easy for me to like make sure that I'm prepared. Obviously, Tramaris and his fucking inner struggle is really easy for me to prepare, especially at this stage, because I decide when that gets for like because we're still really like setting that up. So it kind of depends per situation. But because I write them weekly, it's really easy for me to make sure that I prepare as much as possible. And even then, I'm going to improv my ass off every session because there's going to be things that I never thought of, and or things that I thought would go one way, but because whatever reason, it goes completely the opposite way. It's definitely a little bit of both. I try to be as prepared as possible for anything, so that it also involves the optional stuff or the backstories. But you can't be prepared for everything, so as a DM, it's important that you know how to improvise at least a little bit. Without improv, D&D is nothing. Yeah, so I hope that answered your question.
When Laura revealed some of Kissaren's backstory, did that make you feel that you had to plan some stuff for her as well, now that we kind of knew it?
Definitely.
Because that was a conversation me and I had, like me and her had a couple of days after that Sunday episode when Miranka died. Because she had said to Aktanis, or Kissaren had said, like, I've lost people too, and that was immediately something I knew Aktanis would want to lean in on. So I messaged her and was like, is there anything, like, I want to know if you're okay with this conversation happening, and like just prepare you for it when it happens, so that you know what you want to say and how you want to make it work. And I was just interested to see if it changed anything you had to do.
Definitely. Like, the thing with Kissaren is, she's been, from episode 1, she's really been like, oh, have you seen this person? Like, her backstory definitely, like, at least like a little snippet of it got out immediately. As soon as she met you, she was like, hey, you seen this chick? Red hair, kind of looks like me, dab, you know? Like, I decided that what I want to achieve is, I don't want, like, I kind of see these, like, this as like chapter 3, right? The first chapter was you guys retrieving the chromosphere up until like Halloween, where you turn in the chromosphere and that gets taken care of. Chapter 2, it's definitely like discovering the Council of Roskilde, losing Ash, and then all like up until like the introduction of your backstory, where you like the mimic, the Krampus episode, the Christmas episode. And chapter 3 is definitely your chapter, but what I want to avoid is that it becomes a one-woman show.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that even though you're in the forefront of this like chapter, other people's backstories still shimmer through, so that people that watch and the people that play remember that it's not just Aktanis' show. There's still other stuff going on, which is why
the Aktanis show.
Which is why that whole like city guard with the wanted poster thing happened, so that Laura would kind of been forced to like reveal more of Kissaren's background, which is why I keep going Nakul with the book, and now he has this like pendant that has some kind of draconic
That's
heritage.
kind of one of the things I really love about the direction I've gone with Tramaris is that I don't really need much from you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you, even if you totally didn't dedicate any of an episode towards like Tramaris or something, it's the turmoil's in him. You know what I mean? He doesn't need a you know what I mean? It's ongoing. Like, you know what I mean?
Your current, like, even your, like, before this whole transition, your backstory with you. You know, he's searching for those map pieces and where the fuck do they lead to.
They can literally just pop up anywhere.
Yeah, if you one day ask like, oh, we're in this city, can I look around? I'm like, yeah, you can look around, sure. And if I'm in a good mood, I'll be like, yeah, you find something that leads to that. And if I'm not, like,
So you'll notice
yeah.
I do it all the time. Like when I went into that shop, and it was all like, "Are you looking for it in particular?" I'm like, "No, just browsing."
You rolled really low for that, right? If I remember correctly.
I rolled terrible.
Because if you would have rolled really high, you would have seen that there was indeed something that looked like what you were looking for, in one of like in a frame on a wall.
But I rolled badly.
Yeah, so like I try to make sure that at least some of the kit, like, because the only backstories that we haven't released, like the only thing for Abrand's backstory that's gotten revealed is that he has this coin that apparently gives him some like leverage over guards, which was why the entire fight with those guards got avoided that had that wanted poster, because Abraham was like, hey, I got this token of valor, y'all better fucking move out of the way before I report your asses, you know? Naronk, nothing has been really revealed yet, besides that he and Elevantir have a history, because Elevantir was the one that sent him to keep an eye out on you and get you out of that prison eventually, and now they're both part of the Order of the Obscure, which is like the Thieves Guild of this world. But that's all that's gotten revealed about Naronk. Then we have Kassiran. Pretty. Kassiran has multiple layers to her backstory. Like, she's looking for this guy, but she's also looking for this chick. So that's like two separate things that I can like kind of pick apart. And like, you'll notice that whenever she asks about a girl, I always give her answers in like, I don't know, man, she's hard to track. Ooh, even I, with my powers, can't find her. But when it's about the dude that she's looking for, I'm a lot more like, I give her a lot more information, because that's the thing that I'm slowly preparing for. And the other chick is kind of still in the back. The chick is kind of still in the back burner. Hello? Can my frames not drop? Thank you.
No.
But out of the backstories that we have, I mean, yeah, but Soko, not even that much though. Like, no one fucking knows where the fuck Naronk comes from. And when that gets revealed, it's gonna be fucking lit. Lausanne, Duke quit because, you know, he didn't really feel the weekly D&D thing anymore, which is fair. But Lausanne's backstory was also very interesting, and I would have loved to like get in detail with that. And maybe Duke will come back for like a few episodes where Lausanne kind of needs the party's help for something or whatever. But yeah, like my goal is, you have now established this like big threat in the form of the Council of Roskilde, where there's like these people sacrificing Dragonborn for some form of ritual. We gotta stop that because that's bad. But I'm definitely breaking that up with like, okay, you killed one of the big guys in that council, one of the 10. You killed the fucking lizard dude with the flaming sword, right? That was the first one. So there's 9 left. That now Rokul, Mokin, and Lausanne are like, and Tamar as well, are like tracking down. So, but that gives me the freedom to be like, okay, they're tracking that, so now we can get into someone's backstory. Hey, Aktanis, let's go to the circus. And when this like plot point is kind of wrapped up, or in the process of wrapping up, I can slowly hook back into that. Oh, hey, we found another council member of Roskilde. Time to fucking slay some ass. Kind of like weave that like in there. I appreciate that, Kamikaze. That's dope. That's definitely been my goal. I mean, they could sort of know. No, it's especially not in character. Soko, out of character, if you have a lot of D&D knowledge, sure. But like, if you have a lot of D&D knowledge, you would know a lot of things. That are happening in the campaign that your characters don't know. But because you're in character, they don't know. And especially because I'm pretty sure Laura, Hanzo maybe, but Laura, Belle, and Koiba have no fucking clue. 100% sure. Hanzo, maybe that's because Hanzo is just a very like, I'm not gonna reveal anything here, but like, because Hanzo is a very experienced player, if he pays attention to Naronk a bit and like to every little detail, he might have a sense of what's happening. But I don't think anyone knows just yet, Soko.
I know nothing.
You know nothing.
You didn't pick up on my. If you didn't pick up on my reveal, you're not picking up on anything else.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that either.
Oh man, that's gonna be so
I'm a
good.
first time player. I still play it.
It's gonna be so
I don't know
good.
magic.
Man, I'm
I don't
so
choose
excited.
Magic wheel.
So yeah.
So I'm curious, Belle.
Mhm.
Do you even have like a suspicion of what's going on with Tramaris?
No,
Okay.
I have no idea.
Perfect. Fucking perfect. Keep it that way.
That's how I like it. I like not knowing things and then getting revealed on stream.
Campaigns have become. I mean, I'm definitely heavily inspired by Critical Role. Critical Role is my first like. That's my first D&D like. That's what exposed me to D&D. Was Critical Role, right? I started watching. I was like, wow, I want to do this too. Then a buddy of mine was like, hey man, I do a campaign. You can like play for some time if you want. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I play that campaign now. And I was like, back in high school, I used to do a lot of like fantasy short story writing. You know, like. So
it
like,
all depends on who you play with as well, because like
definitely.
the groups I always played with IRL, they just didn't really have much interest in role playing at all. Like sessions were very like combat heavy because that's what they enjoyed. And like whenever I did try to do any role playing, you could just see them all like start fidgeting and getting bored and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just gave up and just did more combat and stuff like that. So it all depends on what group you're playing with, you know, what they want to do. How much silliness to put in, how serious it should be, how roleplay heavy, how combat heavy. It all depends on what the group wants, you know what I mean?
I'm also really happy with the group that we have because it's like it's the perfect amount of serious storytelling and just banter, you know? It's like a really good combination of both. Whereas now that we're into something like pretty like plot heavy, the party behaves and knows, like the players know that okay, it's serious, like okay, fucking. But when there's going to be an episode that there's a little downtime, like between plot points, where you guys have like a let's do a pub crawl, wrestle arm tournament. That would still be an interesting episode because there's just a lot of like banter between the characters, but also between the players. Just makes it a lot easier to watch, definitely. And like I said, like I'm heavily inspired by Critical Role, so like definitely a lot of inspiration for Dungeon Select comes from that, and the fact that I used to write stories when I was in high school, but now that I do D&D, I was like, wait, if I DM, I can combine D&D with story writing, but instead of having it be like linear, I can have like the players be the main characters in that story and fucking, you know. I really enjoy it so far, and it's definitely my passion project and something that I am very passionate about, and I'm glad with the reception so far because the players seem to love it, and the people watching also seem, like streaming it also adds another layer of like, oh fuck, like if I as a DM enjoy it and my players enjoy it, that's fine. What if no one wants to fucking watch? And I'm glad that there are people that are interested because we average like 20 to 30 people easy.
Dutch, did you ever watch that group I always like promote that I mentioned?
Snippets, yeah.
Because like them, I always feel so bad for them because they're like they're incredible. They get like super into it. It's all like we do and stuff where there's like very little like joking. It's all super serious role playing. There's almost no combat in their sessions ever. They just, you know, role play everything. And their DM is like incredible. But then none of them are streamers. That's the only thing they stream. So they get like the audio quality isn't the best and stuff, the video quality isn't the best, and they just get no viewers at all. But like the actual like campaign and stuff is incredible.
I bet, yeah. Yeah, we got lucky with the group of people that we have. We got lucky that Laura already had like a set established viewer base. So that from the get-go we've had like people watching and people you know, a little bit of a bigger platform than starting completely fresh, which definitely helped. But yeah, like I said, man, like so we pull numbers that are sometimes even for Laura's channel are like, oh, that's a good night, you know? Like for a couple of episodes there we averaged like 70 viewers.
Oh no.
Which is, even for Laura, who is a bigger channel, is still like, that's a good night, you know? That's yeah, so we'll see where the fuck this goes, man. Like, I have no end in mind just yet, and there's so much shit that I couldn't have you guys do, and it's fucking D&D, man. Even if I run out of ideas, there's so much more out there, dude. I can keep this going for like fucking ever if I would really wanted to. So.
Like the Necromancer. The Necromancer.
We also
favorite
like,
bad guy idea.
Have, like, personality types that mash well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all became pretty good friends pretty fast, except Dutch, he sucks.
Okay, dude.
Listen. Oh, okay. So behind the scenes information that you two already know, but viewers might not, is pre-sessions I don't talk at all. Post-sessions I dip out straight away. Like,
yeah.
I cannot stand being in groups. I can't.
Hey,
people talk over me, and it's all loud and it's boisterous, and I cannot stand it. It's not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am like, introversion's like a scale. Let's say like the middle's here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like fucking over here. I'm off camera, like introverted. And I just can't stand groups. So, like, although I seem fine on sessions, as soon as we finish, I'm out. Like, I did.
Yeah, but the thing is that
it's not the people.
For
it's
you
who
to
I
then
am.
for you to then still, like, during the sessions fucking kick ass and roleplay the fuck out of it, then not lag behind is really impressive, because you are in a group of people, but as soon as that like stream starts, we're in character, that kind of slips to the back of your mind, kind of thing. That's the idea that I have, which I think is really cool. That even for an introvert like you, these are things that you can still do.
Does anyone else do roleplay that isn't D&D? Actually, so I have been trying to convince people to play Dungeon World recently, because Dungeon World's incredible and I need people to experience it. So I actually have a campaign starting on Thursday, like a mini campaign, 10 sessions or so on Thursday of Dungeon World.
Nice.
Because Dungeon World's fucking great. People are gonna love it.
I used to, like, I did a lot of like role playing things when I did creative writing, because I would then read out the scene as like the protagonist and see if it hit the right emotional cues, and that's how I practiced basically before I was really like needed the skills. So
Sure.
there was that.
I used to do a lot of
just
World
for
of
the
Warcraft
record,
roleplay.
Just for the record, I was not insulting anyone in the group. I love everyone in the group. I get along great with everyone. I talk to like almost everyone, out of sessions and stuff like that as well. I hang out in a lot of their streams, all sorts. I get along great with like everyone. It was not like about the people. It's about me. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't handle that situation.
It's not
that
you,
like,
it's me, okay?
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me.
Exactly. But it literally is in this circumstance.
Like, we
totally
don't
get it.
blame you for anything, dude. Like, we
totally
really
get it.
enjoy you as a person. We enjoy your presence, and we understand, like, you're dipping out because you're like, okay, I've had my fill of people for the night. Like, it's totally understandable, dude.
So is Dungeon World a similar setting? Yeah, it is. It's designed to be like a super rules light D&D, where it encourages like total sort of just creative freedom in your actions and stuff like that. It's really fun. This is exciting. Paranoia is fucking hilarious. I love Paranoia to bits. If none of you have seen the one shot that the Critical Role group did of Paranoia, go watch it. It's the funniest thing they've ever put out.
I'm currently at episode 97 of Critical Role Campaign 1. As soon as I'm done
It's a one shot.
Yeah. As soon as I'm done with Campaign 1, I'm going to watch like all the one shots before I start Campaign 2 to have like a little bit of a.
The Paranoia one
Campaign
shot is
2
the
is so good.
funniest thing they've ever put out.
I
Legitimately.
love Campaign 2.
But yeah, I've played a bunch of other roleplay systems as well, like GURPS, the Game of Thrones roleplay system, Dark Heresy, Rogue Trader. Like, I've played all sorts. The Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game. Yeah, I've played all sorts. Same sort of setting as Dungeons and Dragons, and all sorts of other settings as well. There's role-playing settings out there for like everyone.
Yeah,
no matter what you're interested in, there's something out there for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the only real like roleplay, and this is gonna maybe sound like a little World of Warcraft roleplay. I used to be a really dedicated WoW RP player, where I was like, I had this guild that I ran for like 2 years, and we had like weekly events going on, and that was like that was very serious, like, and permadeath and all that. That was lit. I really enjoyed
I've done
that.
stuff like that as well. Like I did the Star Wars Combine, which is probably the nerdiest thing I've ever done. I was big on that for a few years. Which is basically, it's like a Star Wars life simulator where you create a character and then you basically just live a normal life in the Star Wars universe, where like you get a job as like a pilot transporting cargo around, and it takes you like legit days to fly from one planet to another and stuff.
Like almost like it's almost like a simulator, pretty much.
Yeah, and each character has like a 2% chance of being force sensitive, and then even if you become force sensitive, you won't know unless you get tested, and then you still don't become like a Jedi or a Sith unless you get picked up by one of the organizations and stuff like that.
Good stuff.
And it's all based on like role playing and stuff like that. And I was like so into that I like on the wiki, I have a page on the wiki which I didn't make, like someone made for me because I was deemed important enough to have a page. And if you go on the race I played and look at important like notable members of that race, there's like 5 listed and I'm one of them.
That's sick.
That's how into it I was. Like,
that's dope. Doing the stream on Sunday was fun, but joining a group that was meshed already, I felt third wheelish and couple that with my sense of respect, so I kind of just followed along. I try my best to like ask Gwen how Gwen felt and what does Gwen do and stuff, but yeah. Now, but the thing also is because you as a character were just like, oh, I'm not saying anything, I just nod, because that's the character Gwen is. I'm going to make sure that I, plot-wise, I'm gonna force you out of that shell a little bit, okay? So that, because you're going to tag along with the party searching for Iron Deck, so you're gonna have to open up a little bit because the party's not gonna bring someone they don't trust. You know?
Yeah, that's gonna be a conversation.
So, like, yeah. The thing is, I tried my best to like involve you as much as I could, and definitely asked you like a couple of times, like, hey man, how does Gwen feel about all of this? Like to kind of get you going as well. But yeah, like it's hard. It's hard being a new character that no one knows, that also has her own agenda, to then forcefully get put into this group of like people that already know each other a little bit. And so yeah, I understand.
Especially when we were all so focused, like on where we were going.
And especially now because Gwen definitely has the potential to come back later. So whenever you have time off again from work, you can just hit me up and be like, hey man, can Gwen join in? Now that you will then have had this like first initial adventure with them, so the next time you contact them or come across them, they'll be like, oh hey Gwen, yo Dab, let's fucking go, you know, you want to tag along? Because they already know you, but because, you know, like they're gonna have to get to know you first, which will definitely happen next week.
It's just like the first episode where like a few of us didn't talk to each other because that was like in character.
Me and Laura, that was like, she was like the only person I spoke to in her session.
Yeah, I didn't talk at all the first session.
While we're talking about other roleplay systems, do you want to hear something really cool, Dodge?
Mm-hmm.
So Warhammer 40k, there's a bunch of different role-playing games you can play. Like there's Only War, Rogue Trader, Dark Heresy, and there's a few others. And what's really cool about them is they're all made using the same rule set, just in different scenarios and stuff. So what you can actually do is like combine them all to create like one sort of huge scale roleplay. Because like the Only War is you're just like a regular soldier in an army getting sent to the front lines and dying over and over and over again. Dark Heresy is that you're like an inquisitor solving murders and crimes and stuff like that. Rogue Trader is that you're a pirate in space with your own spaceship, flying from planet to planet trying to make a living. But like they all use the exact same rules. So if you wanted to, you can like combine any bit of material from any of them. I think that's like such a fucking cool system.
That's dope, yeah.
It's a cool way of doing it.
That's really cool. How long has it been? Oh, it's been like an hour and 20 minutes. An hour and 10 minutes because we had like a 10-minute intro. Anything that any of you guys or chat wants to know about Dungeons Lex so far? Any questions? Like I discussed what I want to discuss, so like the things that last episode that I had to like alter on the fly, what was improv, what was not, and all that shit. So yeah, I'm kind of out of shit to talk about. So if any of you guys have something to add or questions, feel free. Now's the chance. As for this, what did we miss? Could you be a little more specific? Hey, DM, what are all the things that we've missed in the past, like, 14 times 4 equals 4? 56 hours of D&D? Yeah, a lot, Soko, a lot.
Oh my god, 56? What the heck?
Yeah, like 4 hours a week, 14 episodes.
What?
So.
That does not feel like 56 hours.
Is there an outline for the whole campaign? Yes and no. They have... This Council of Roskilde is definitely going to be like their first big bad, we gotta stop them for the greater good type thing. And it's definitely going to expand for the foreseeable future. And hey man, by the time that that's dealt with, we're talking months and months in the future. We could be at a point where we're like, you know what? This is a good point to end it. But we could also just be like, okay, that's a significant feat. Let's see what happens next and how the group progresses. And there's a lot of things. As long as it feels natural and the players still having fun, I don't see us stopping. What we could also do is if, you know, we're talking, hey man, a year from now we're still playing this campaign, we're all leveled out of our mind, and we've all had like our individual storylines, and we've stopped the greater threat from destroying the world. Let's re-roll. Let's do a new campaign.
Create new characters in the same world, but like
with a new campaign. Yeah, you know.
Campaign 2.
Campaign 2.
Or have the planet blow up and we run away on a spaceship and we transition into Rogue Trader instead and become space pirates.
Oh god.
Just go full outlandish.
What cool minigames?
Or do like a Monty Python and just have the police show up in the campaign and arrest everyone.
What minigames have you missed? There was.
I once read a description of Monty Python and the Holy Grail that was it was basically saying it's just a D&D campaign where the DM has a bunch of unruly players. And like if you look at the campaign through, like if you look at that film through that lens, it
really
so
fucking fits. Yeah. What did I miss? Like minigames in the carnival? Oh, so you found like the little dunk goblin. I had a thing prepared. I had another act prepared, an Arakokra. For those who don't know, that's like it's a bird humanoid, white feathered bird, like definitely like a white bird head, 2 big wings, but definitely like humanoid. Who I mentioned briefly that he had like a clipped wing, like one of his wings. I had an act prepared for him to be like a trapeze artist, and because he can't fly, falling down is still like a threat for him. But I scratched that for time reasons as well, because, you know, Laura was really pushed for time. There was no test your strength. There were several drink carts and food carts with interesting people behind them. As for like games, there was like a really D&D-ish whack-a-mole type thing that I had in mind that I made, which is like you get a warhammer, but instead of like whacking on a machine, there's just like a field on the floor, like in the ground, with just a bunch of like random like creatures that you like would like pop up. You would have to hit, but if it's like a good creature, you would get negative points for hitting them, and if it was like a bad creature, like a fucking gnoll or whatever, you would get you would get points type of thing. Was there skee ball? No, there was no skee ball.
I was going to ask how the players would feel about their characters dying and having to come in with a second one.
That's what I was about to read.
Yeah.
I was going to say, from my perspective, I wouldn't mind. Or like it, to me, it's just part of it, because like it's sad
game,
to
man.
lose a character, but because you lose whatever you had planned for it, it sort of all gets thrown in the bin. But at the same time, it opens up roleplay opportunities for all the other characters. Cough, cough, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But also it gives you like an opportunity to do something different, to go in like another direction, to come up with another cool story for yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
definitely.
Just a new opportunity.
It also depends, like, for the only character death that I, as a DM, personally had to do was also during Dungeon Discourse, was when Ash died. And I think losing a character this early, when he's very underdeveloped, is easier than losing him midway through a campaign, knowing it's his background. You've been through so much.
Like for example, if we lost,
if you have like a quest, like if Iron Deck ends up killing Aktanis, that would fucking suck.
I would be devastated. Like
I would be devastated, but it could very well happen, you know.
Like I was so nervous that I was actually gonna die when I went right up to his face.
You imagine the campaign ending with a whole different set of characters? Unlikely.
No, Tramaris is eternal.
But possible.
But yeah.
But the thing is, later when the party levels up, there are options to get revived or to like get a second chance. The only thing is, this early game, no fucking way. But they have a cleric that, you know, if he levels up, will get like revivify or spare the dying or you know.
They also have a guy who has access to a full cleric spell list.
Exactly. So as they level up, there are definitely opportunities to, oh, I died. Well, if you're quick enough, you might be able to save him still. La la la. I'm definitely going off the book with that though. Like I'm not going to do basic 5e rules for reviving, because reviving is something that needs that requires a little more than just, oh, I have a diamond that's pricey enough.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to go more into like the critical role way, where it's like, okay, you want this guy back? Why? Convince me. Convince the character that it has unfinished business. You know, come with a set of items or a set of things that would convince him, and based on that, I'll determine a DC.
You've got to roleplay a revival. You can't just be a random event. Like it's got to be story important and stuff. Like you got to make it a thing.
Yeah, definitely.
If I had to reroll Aktanis, like I would be like devastated. Like if she died, just like not even like because like I invested so much time and like it was so much energy, or like she was my first character or whatever, but just because like I genuinely love her and I find her the most interesting character like I have ever made in both like games and in like my creative writing that I did before this. So yeah, if she went, oh boy, don't know if I'd be able to come back like this straight away.
There's one particular character right now that I'm like, okay, if they were, without spoiling anything, if they were to die, I might, discussing with the said player, of course, if they're okay with it, have a way to have them come back, because it really fits when it comes to their story and their background. But that's, I won't do that unless the player says, okay, that's a good, that I want to come back for that, because that's interesting. But other than that, you know, death is permanent. Death is always a risk. Every week, every combat encounter you have, hell, not even just combat encounters, there is a risk of you fucking up in such a way where, yep.
And that is why you heal griffins instead of fighting them.
Bro, I'm so happy that you guys did that. That was all improv, by the way the griffin acted and stuff, because I was just like, okay. Because if Narog's gun wouldn't have misfired, if it would have jammed, and he would have immediately had taken a bullet, that would have been a normal fight. There was no way he would have been able to convince him to be like, hey man, let us heal you, smile. But because Narong was top of the initiative and fucked his misfire, like his gun misfired, then the dice determined that Tramaris was next up to start trying convincing this thing. Like, that all happened because Soko's dice fucked him, which is interesting. And that's the nature of D&D. And I'm really excited for one day when you least expect it, this mature, like years from now, this mature griffin will just come flying down when you need him most to fucking save your ass. It's gonna be lit.
I've got a question for chat.
Oh.
What do you guys think of Alpaca as my replacement when I'm not there?
Perfect.
I think he does a great job.
He's a little quiet, you know, but...
We're basically clones. I mean...
You look very similar. Yeah, definitely.
It was really funny that when Aktanis went through Murink's death, there was just an alpaca on the screen, shrouded in darkness. Not even like a normal alpaca, a zombie alpaca that was kind of half dead.
Yeah. So unless there's any more questions, I think this will wrap the first episode of Dungeon Discourse. Don't know if you guys have anything to
Gwen,
say or ask.
by the way, noticed no one helped to heal her after the fight.
Hey man, don't blame
In
me.
my defense,
I'm
I
not a
actually
healer.
said, in my defense, I actually said like, oh, I'll heal anyone who needs it, and someone said, oh, don't bother because we're just gonna sleep anyway.
True.
Yeah, that's true. I think it was me who said, don't bother, we're just going to sleep anyway. I think that
Yeah,
was me.
could be. So yeah, there's fucking. I'm excited.
Belle, you should get yours and put it on your shoulder as well.
I'm definitely going to. Boys, I got my replacements as well. Johnny, we out here, dude. We out here. Hey boys, how's it going? Johnny's here. Any teases for next week? Yes. We're going vampire hunting. You're going to meet a person out of Gwen's past that is going to help out. And I homebrewed a crossbow to shoot stakes instead of crossbow. So if you guys end up finding that, that'd be lit. Other than that, the entire you're gonna figure out more about Iron Deck and his decision making. Fuck, man, if all goes well, you'll be fighting mother flipping vampires. So,
Oh my god.
lot of lore, but also definitely.
If one of us gets bitten, can we become a vampire?
To be determined.
If Aktanis got bit.
Aktanis did get bit.
Wait, oh my god, I did get bit.
Vampire Tarnis.
She did get bit. Because
Oh my god, I didn't remember that. I totally forgot.
it's the first time where I'm planning a battle that is really dangerous enough that it could kill someone if the party doesn't work together.
Ah!
So
No.
Have I ever told you the story, totally off topic, of when I once had an Oblivion save game fucked up by being a vampire?
no.
So I was super low health, and it was daytime,
Nice.
and I was a vampire. So I couldn't ever leave the building because I died. But I had the guards on me, so I couldn't just wait and heal
Oh,
because the
motherfucker.
guards were coming. And my entire inventory was stolen because I stole everything. All my armor, all my weapons. So I couldn't just surrender to the guards because I'd lose everything. But I couldn't fight the guards because I was super low health and they'd just kill me.
That's unfortunate. The quest,
I got
like a
myself in a
limit
right
achievement now.
predicament.
the quest in Oblivion to get rid of your vampirism is such a bitch as well. Alexa, shut your whore mouth! Thank you.
When's Alexa guest starring in?
She's already tried
know,
a few
man.
times.
She's tried, yeah, definitely. So yeah,
Bill, attention hall.
see you guys next Sunday for Dungeon
Yeah.
Select. This video will be up on YouTube this Friday. The Dungeon Select episode from last week will be up tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of Dungeon Discourse. See y'all next Sunday, boys. And see you guys next Tuesday for
Try not to die.
the new Dungeon
while you
Discourse.
wait.
So yeah, I already know who I want to guest on next week's Dungeon Discourse. So it'll be fun. And yeah, fucking hope you guys have a good night. I'll see you guys. Who's gonna be here next week? I wanted to ask you, Soko, and either Laura or Gypsy. Either or. Because then we have 6 players, right? Hi, yeah, we have 6 players. So yeah, then we can have Koiba and either Gypsy or I kind of want to get Koiba and Gypsy together because they're like bros and their characters have had a little bit of a bouncing between each other, like a little bit of a. So probably you and Laura, Soko. But yeah, see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here, Belle and Hanzo.